You're listening to Broncos for Breakfast with Nick Kendell and Scott Kennedy. Head on over to milehighhuddle.com for all things Broncos. Good morning, Broncos country.
Here, we got 4 check marks in here. Let's get that 5th one rolling here before we're officially doing it. Pending. There we go. Good morning. How you doing, Scott? Happy Thursday morning to you.
Good morning. It is Thursday. Sometimes when when you're doing this stuff 7 days a week, it gets, if you don't have a game to mark what day of week it is, you're really not sure. So Thursday, welcome Broncos for breakfast.
Heck yeah. No, 6:30 on my time, 7:30 Mountain Time, God's time, as I like to say. And welcome in, everybody. I see that we already have some people joining us today. Clayton Huron's in the house. How you doing, Clayton? Always a loyal listener, a loyal follower. We appreciate you, Clayton. And he also says, he says, morning, guys, but also smash that like button. In the shop with Willie's in here saying, Nick, I love you, but how are we still doing this show? I don't know what he's talking about there. This is a classic show.
What's wrong with this show? That's not the guy that was stalking me when I did the evening Broncos show, was it? Man, he hated me. Oh, Falcons, a guy from Atlanta. Are you kidding me?
See, I enjoy that because it removes bias. If you're looking for a fanalist situation, there are other options out there for you, but we're trying to remove bias as much as possible, as much as a human can do.
Yeah, we're all biased for sure.
Yes. But Willie, we need to figure out this payment. We had a bet. He was going to pay me 20 if we got Rodgers, and I would give him 5 if we didn't buy August. And he doesn't have a Venmo, so we'll figure this out, Willie. No doubt about it. Robert's in the house. Morning, y'all. Robert Ribel. Good to see you, Robert. The 3-time donation on actually 4-time. He actually came Tuesday night as well and was a super chatter. So thank you so much, Robert. Good to see you. Mac 85 City says, I woke up late and the traffic is so bad. I said, forget work today. That's my guy. I got laundry I need to do anyways.
I don't know where you're from, but I had a couple of days like that when I was working in Manhattan. I'd get to the bridge because I was living in New Jersey, working in Manhattan. I get to the bridge and I said, to hell with this. I'm going back home.
Oh, man. Robert's right. Laundry is also important. You got to take care of your home if you're going to be able to go out there and function in society. So,
see, I always thought that about relationships too. I'm like, you've got to be a little selfish in your relationships. If you're not happy, how are you supposed to make somebody else happy? So priority 1 is make yourself happy.
You hedonist. No, I'm just kidding. Good morning, y'all from CC. Bo Ron's in the house too. Mo joined us on time. Buenos dias. Mac 85 is also saying, well, not when you make $38 an hour, but I'm trying to tell myself it's okay to be home one day. Mac, you got to give yourself a little break there. Sometimes that's okay. Facebook user says, hi all. Hi to you, Facebook user. Maybe it's Greg Smith. Aloha. Just because sometimes that comes in like that. Robert, there we go. Robert kicking us off here. Day 2 Broncos for breakfast. Splendiferous. I think I nailed it. I think so. Dave Glassman in the house. Cheers. Hashtag Broncos country. We got AC 6:30 in Arizona, 6:30 here in Seattle as well, US Dave, but we're living life. We got Mike Gibbons. Good morning, Nick and Scott. Love the show. Mr. Sir McLovin. Good morning, guys. Kareem Gomez is in the house. Good to see you, Kareem, over in North Carolina. Top of the morning to you. Oh, maybe over in Ireland. I don't know what's going on there, Kareem. Tim Durr. Good morning, Nick and Scott. Dave Glassman's in the house. Stu McPeak. Stu, good to see you. Good morning, Stu. Hi, all. We got Clayton Huron also here. What kind of coffee you guys drinking this morning? I drink something called Cow Tipper from Iowa because they had a sale where we got like it for super cheap. I don't know. I'm in Seattle, right, guys? Let's get that out of the way. But I'm drinking a local roaster from Iowa.
Cafe Brit Terrazoo, right out of the French press.
Ooh, man. And Scott and I, we found out later, we've both been to Cafe Brit in outside of San Jose, Costa Rica. A little bit outside of that. Like the roaster, where they grow the beans is not right there, but I think the roastery is right outside San Jose. So beautiful. Speaking of beautiful, goodness. Stu McPeak coming with a $15 super saying, morning, guys. You're amazing, Stu. We love you. Thank you so much for the support. As always.
Make sure, if you come up with a question, Stu, make sure, you'll go to the top of the heap, even if you didn't have one right here. Yep. And Moron coming in again. Mo, one of my favorite comedians, I don't remember who, I won't say comedians, but one of my favorite bits from a comedian was talking about getting older. And, I used to make fun of my dad. He'd say, what happened to you? He's like, well, I slept wrong. You're like, how'd you F that up? you're sleeping. They don't even put instruction manuals on mattresses. He said, now that I've gotten older, I wake up like car crash sore. So yes, we get it. Hope you're feeling better, Mo.
Yeah, that rotator cuff is not great, and not getting sleep is also not great. I am a great sleeper. I'm like head hits the pillow out, and also alarm gets off, feet hit the ground kind of person. My partner, my wife, has a harder time with that, so I'm appreciating the sleep because I see the other end of it when you're not getting it as well. So, and I did say cow tipper. It's from Iowa. What did you expect? I never had a chance. They had to go with something like that. And we had one more here that I wanted to get to. Nope, that's it. Okay. Well, hello everybody, and we'll say hello to some other folks as well. We got to get to the matters of business here real quick. You can follow Scott on Twitter at Scout Kennedy and myself on Twitter at Nick Kendell MHH. Follow us also at Huddle Up Pod and at Mile High Huddle. This is, of course, Broncos for Breakfast. We'll be seeing you guys at 7:30 Mountain Time going forward. It makes the most sense for me to get my butt into work on time, maybe working a quick dog walk. So Scott's over there on East Coast, so it's what is it, 9:30 there? You got plenty of time.
9:30. I put in a decent day's work already, and after this, it's like 10:30. I'm done. I'm ready. You can put in a lot of work by 9 in the morning. So at 10:30, I'm like, whew, I'm done. I'm done for the day.
Time for a nap. Really. But yeah, no, guys, we'll be joining you here 7:30 going forward. Hour-long show. We'll get into it as long as the chat's alive and there's stuff to talk about. We'll be stretching it out. Join us also on Facebook, guys. Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod and Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. Training camp is here. There's new storylines. There's things happening. Thank God this fan base, this team was ready to pull itself apart with all the hypotheticals and talking about the quarterback situation. But now we have new information to pull ourselves out about. So it's going to be great. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's real new football to talk about. So that's awesome. If you guys are joining us on Facebook today, please click those thumbs up. The heart reacts. I see right now we got a heart from Dave Glassman. You guys, there's more hearts out there than Dave has, although we appreciate you, Dave. And likes from Benz Nugian, Thomas Murray, Daniel Height, Roy Osborne, and Clayton Huron. So if you guys aren't joining us on Facebook, click a react, care react, laugh react, wow react, the angry react. I don't know what's going on. And also, if you guys are joining us on YouTube today, please subscribe, like, and share. It's probably the number one way that you can support these shows is by subscribing, liking, and sharing, especially on the precipice of preseason and training camp. We have a chance to get a lot of new eyeballs on here and grow this community and make sure that Mile High Huddle is here to stay. Make sure that Broncos for Breakfast is here to stay. So if you guys can do that, that would help us a heck of a lot. Go over to Scott's channel. Also, we're on YouTube, youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy. I'm going to drop his YouTube channel in the comment section now. Literally, all you guys have to do, click that. It'll take you there, and you can get all the football goodness, both American football and across the pond football even, over on Scott's channel. And Scott, I always like to give you, elevator pitch here. What's going on the Scott Kennedy page?
Yeah, and then I feel like I need to be doing more. No, it's quiet right now. I'm just I do a lot of evergreen content, highlights and stuff from Senior Bowl, from high school. Even some basketball stuff is in there. Bowl popped up for some reason. I got who's here from TikTok, and there's like 180 likes on it. So there's a lot of stuff on there. If you post a comment or question, I will respond. I'm incredibly OCD about that. People that invite me into group chats, I say, forget it. There's no way. I cannot deal with that many notifications on my phone. Couldn't handle it, because I get back to you right away when you do something like that. So just to finish off the conversation about tearing up your shoulders sleeping, I get a side sleeper pillow about 8 years ago. It's super firm. I sleep on my side, and it changed my life. Seriously, changed my life. So look into those.
Well, there you go. Some real world advice there. Throwing out free tips there. That's free, guys. The next one's not. Clayton's in here. Got the day off, so I can finally watch a live pod. Well, we're happy to have you here. US Dave saying, wait a few years, Nick. Hopefully it's a little more than a few years, but we'll see. Chase is in the house too. Good to see you, Chase. Here we go, fellas. Jake Gerard. Good morning. We have an extra player on the practice squad this year. We have a lot of good wide receivers. So yeah, maybe we can fit a player on the practice squad. That'd be a good way to go. Jeremy coming in, shoulders being sore from sleeping is the ultimate old guy problems. I'm with you, Mo. And here we go. Timder. Nick, what do you think of the center signing? What does this mean for Cush? I think it's just they're bringing in somebody that they are competent with, that could be a backup center if I think it's more of a safety net for Miners. If Quinn Miners is not, up to snuff at the center position, whether it's something as simple as snapping the football or the pre-snap checks, now they have somebody that Peyton is familiar with, the former Vikings player as well. So I think it's more about having that backup center and also giving some competition for Austin Schlottman, because Miners is going to make the roster unless he commits, a felony. But is he going to be a center this year or a guard? That remains to be seen on how he plays down the stretch. So I think it's much more about those guys rather than Cushenberry.
Yeah, and I think Fangio had I think it was Todd said, shot across the bow on the front of Mile High Huddle this morning, just saying, well, Miners needs to make it a competition before it's a competition.
Yep.
Whoa, hello. But, Miners didn't play center. He's never been a center. The first time he took snaps at center was at the Senior Bowl, and he looked great. But there is a lot to it. I think it's definitely harder to go from – it's not even a think. It's much harder to go from guard to center than from center to guard. If you're talking about physical ability, because there's just so much more on your plate mentally and being prepared, the connection with the quarterback, the mental connection, not just the snapping the ball. Snapping the ball is the easy part. So he's got a lot to learn there. But Cushenberry said in the offseason, he says, if I had played better last year, they wouldn't have drafted Miners. This is on me. And I thought that was a great mindset. I think that was a great comment for him. It's motivation for him. It's motivation for Miners. And kind of like we've talked about the quarterback position, with Miners coming in, the center position just got better because he will play better than Cushenberry probably played last year. It'll make Cushenberry better. It'll push Miners, and you can move Miner to either guard position as well. And in a pinch, you could throw him out at tackle. He played all three positions at the Senior Bowl and was able to do a job there. So he could be an emergency, not a starter. Don't get me wrong on this, but he could be an emergency tackle option too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. A little bit short arm there for that, but what can you do? We got Robert Rival coming back in, double dipping already. 11 minutes into the pod. Scott, quick thoughts on the Gold Cup semis.
USA, a blue-collar type of old-school performance to get into the semis. Very hard-working, not a lot of flair. Hoppy, who plays in Europe, you could tell he was one of the few Europeans out there playing for Schalke. Mexico should ease past Canada, should be a U.S.-Mexico semis. I'd probably take Mexico in the final.
One of my best friends back in Iowa City, he just moved back to L.A., but he is a huge soccer fan and a big Mexico fan, and we'd always get together and watch the USA-Mexico game. So hopefully
Mexico's probably a better team than the U.S. at full strength right now, but this isn't a full-strength U.S. squad. The best players now, finally, the best young players in the United States are playing over in Europe, where they should be. The top level of competition. So there's only one European player that's even in the Gold Cup squad. So anyway, those are quick thoughts.
The great thing about soccer is one game, low scoring, anything can really happen, right? Like that's one goal.
Like an MMA fight.
Yep.
It's like, and that's why, I'm was never a huge fan of the playoffs. I like the long haul. Over the long haul, the best team is going to show, not a one-off type of thing. And they always said, well, every other sport has a playoffs. Well, not in the most popular sport in the world. They don't do playoffs in soccer. They do cups, but in the regular season, you play every team twice, add up the points, and there's your winner. And I like that because the games in the beginning of the season are just important as the games at the end. Yeah,
no, absolutely. We have Andrew Morrow. Andrew, I don't have the ability to pull up the super sticker over on YouTube, so you're gonna have to describe it for us in grotesque detail. But Andrew with the $1 super sticker. I'm going to picture it's Drew Lock because apparently Drew Lock won the day yesterday, according to most people. And I know it's a non-padded practice training camp, but if Drew Lock and Teddy are playing close this season and that continues to be the case, let's even call it a draw. If it's a draw, for my money, the tie goes to Drew Lock. Drew Lock is younger. He is cheaper. He has 2 years of control instead of 1, and he has better tools, therefore perceived upside. So if it's close,
he's the incumbent.
Yes.
You got to knock out the champ. If it's a draw, the champ gets to keep his belt. So you're not saying he's champ, but that's just how draws work when in competitions like that. The person who's already in the spot gets to keep it. You gotta knock him out of it. So but for all those reasons you said are much more important to why you want Drew Lock to win this quarterback competition. I think it was Lance I was reading said, well, if Teddy had completed this one pass, maybe he won the day. I'm like, all right. So we're one pass away from saying who won the day. Okay, so it's basically even. And again, Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater in shorts and no pads doesn't really matter. What was Lock's biggest concern last year? Under pressure, right? And you don't know that until we start seeing guys flying at you.
Yeah, under pressure, ability to get off the first read, accuracy, turnovers. So I think the biggest takeaway that we can take away from yesterday was the fact that there were 0 interceptions. And I know that there wasn't that real pass rush, that wasn't padded, et cetera, but that's the biggest thing for me this year.
I'm concerned about the secondary now, Nick. I'm just worried.
Man, right training camp, right? If one side winning, that means another side's losing. So you don't know until you know. That's why I'm excited for preseason. And honestly, I really wish, I know they will never do it, but I would pay good money to have like all 22 or video access of those scrimmages. Like I think the Broncos are going up against the Vikings this year. I would pay so much money because I love just going through like the Senior Bowl tape, like from the top and just like breaking down those matchups. We'd learn so much about these players if we were able to get access to that. Now the coaches would never allow it because the drills, the scheme, technique, etc. It's top government secrets. But I would be way about that, and we'd actually get an idea of who these teams are.
And in the shop with Willie has a comment here coming in, says Drew is top 10 in the league in play action.
He was 8th,
which is,
I think.
I don't know if that's true. Nick, go ahead.
It is true. Yeah, I think he was 8th in the league last year in play action, and Shermer was like 7th lowest in play action. Now there's probably a little bit of feed into that because the play action really, teams don't use it as much when they're playing from behind, and the Broncos played from behind a lot last year. So there's some game scenario feed into that. But Drew Lock was top 10 in play action. I believe he was dead last in non-play action plays.
2-minute drills and 3rd and long. When I saw play action, I wanted to fire the coordinator on the spot. Just right there, like you're fired. There isn't anybody biting on the play action, and you just took an extra half second away from your quarterback. And having 2 running backs is gonna help. Having Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams should just help the running game. Where a lot of times like, okay, this guy's coming in based on the personnel, they're not running the ball or this, but you've got 2 pretty legit, we think, running backs coming in, so the play action should open up. But I'm a huge fan of play action defense, running game, play action pass, beat them long. That's always been one of my favorite ways to win.
And do you have any reasons why you think Drew Lock would be so much better? Like the dichotomy for him between play action and non-play action is unlike it's unlike anything I've ever seen.
Well, so what's play action supposed to do? It's supposed to freeze the defense for just a moment. So everybody should get an extra step if you're running a route, right? So especially the inside linebackers and the safety. That's where it's going to be the double safeties on top. Those are the 4 players. They're going to be most affected by play action. It also stops the pass rush a little bit. So if they're not pinning their ears back and going after them, so you've got a synergy here. If you've got the worst quarterback under pressure statistically, but he's good under play action, what's that tell you? So, well, how can we protect him? How can we get him some more time? How can we freeze that defense for just a click? And play action was good for it. But like you said, if you're playing from behind, that can become a trouble. And if you're throwing interceptions, giving the ball up, or giving up big plays on defense, play action kind of goes out the window. Those are things that we think can be fixed this year.
Yeah, and you mentioned the middle field of passing. Drew Lock has been much more efficient there versus the likes of throwing it outside the hash marks. That's probably part of the play action. Also, typically play action plays, and we see it a lot with Kyle Shanahan's trees. It's easier to get that first read open on the play action plays, just to get that primary receiver, the first read. That's where the ball goes most of the time.
Especially if you're booting, if you're bootlegging out there, the naked boots, you should have at least 2 guys coming with you. You can go long on an out or dump it underneath.
Yep. But that's another one because Drew Lock also hand in hand, not bad going to his first read last year. Really struggled his percentage, his quarterback rating, QBR, both of them were pretty close to the bottom for second or third read. So all those things probably go hand in hand, right? They all feed into each other. They all tell a similar narrative. But we'll see what's going on. And we have Michael in the house, Michael Ronquillo, always supporting us. Good morning, Nick and Scott from Broncos for breakfast. Broncos football is back. Go Broncos. And you talked about it a little bit earlier. I'm looking for it. Somebody mentioned the likes of trading Melvin Gordon. Here we go. It's Mo Ron. You mentioned Melvin Gordon, so this one piqued my interest. Do you guys think the Broncos could get anything for trading Melvin Gordon to the Rams? And obviously the Rams right now, running back situation is somewhat perilous. And that's a team that's very much predicated on the ground to run that Sean McVay offense. We saw it with Todd Gurley. That's when they were at their peak of offensive performance. They do actually have a quarterback now that isn't a wet noodle back there in the pocket. But Melvin Gordon to the Rams, what do you think?
He's a free agent after this year, and he's a little on the expensive side. Mm-hmm. I think that would be a tough sell. So, what are you getting back? Again, the Broncos have so much room under the cap that I think you'd rather have the player, right? You'd rather have another experienced running back than try and, why would you make that move if you were the Broncos?
Yeah.
What's your upside there? What would you try to do? He's a free agent anyway. You're not clearing up cap space for this year for any particular reason, and you wouldn't get much of a return on him.
Yeah.
I'd rather have Melvin Gordon for 1 year.
He's probably more valuable on your roster right now than he would be whatever you bring back. I know there's like some conversation with somebody like Tim Patrick. Like if, let's say, the Saints offered you a 3rd round pick and a 4th round pick in 2023, you're going to lose him. He's cheap right now. You're getting back, 2 potential quality players that could develop into starters. I mean, that's one where you're like, oh man, let's see how Tyree Cleveland's looking. Let's see how Seth Williams is looking, KJ Hamler, and maybe you can part from him. But given Melvin Gordon's 1-year contract status, the expensive side of him, that you're probably going to get honest to God, you're probably only going to get like a 6th or 7th round pick for him.
Right.
Maybe. That's where it's you're just not getting to get equitable value compared to what he would bring on your roster, even though we are excited about Javonte Williams this year. But you need 2, especially in a 17-game season. You need 2. So I think you're much better off, unless you got somebody up and coming that is going to be another starting caliber running back. But I don't think that's the case with Denver. You've got 2 now. That's a luxury. Yeah, I am excited to see what Mike Boone can do this year, but that's a more special teams overall player bringing him here. And we got Greg Smith. Good morning, fellas. Good to see you, Greg. And also, I think it might have been Peter Middleton earlier with the Facebook user that we couldn't tell. So does it work now? Still say Facebook user. Nope, Peter, you're all good there. Good to see you. CC's in the house here. Says, don't mind the addition of Tedrick Thompson. Been an all right nickel/safety when given the opportunities. I think he adds good competition to the safety room. Although I think he's just a versatile defensive back body. I think if Jamar Johnson didn't end up on the reserve list, you would not see Tedrick Thompson here. They needed somebody back there for the body count. Tedrick Thompson went to Colorado. He's bounced around the league for a bit. Maybe he will make a spot here, but I think it's just as likely he's just kind of, holding a place right now until Jamar Johnson's back.
Camp body.
Yep. But,
that's good for him to get in shape, get seen. These coaches are moving all over the place all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like sending out your film when you're an actor. Here's my latest work. It didn't make the cuts, but here's my latest resume. So it's good for him. He gets a paycheck for a couple of weeks, right?
Yep, exactly. So good for him making some football for a little bit. Staying in the league. Clayton Huron in the house saying, we have so much talent this year on both sides of the ball. What do you guys think? Well, training camp day 1 with no pads, it's kind of hard to surmise that much, especially because they're going against their own teammates. But it does seem like, from what we were able to pick up yesterday, it was mostly the talent on the outside, right? So the skill positions, especially the pass catchers and the defensive backs, and Broncos have talent there, boys. A lot of people were saying it was pretty evenly matched, and we know the talent that this defensive back group has with Kyle Fuller, Ronald Darby, Bryce Callahan, Patrick Surtain, Justin Simmons. I mean, that's about as good as anybody in the league has. And the Broncos, while they have a lot of young premium resources on the offensive side of the ball, the skill position, we don't know until we know there. Like, they're still young, developing. Some of them could bust, some of them could flame out, but it does sound like KJ Hamler making plays last year, dusting dudes, getting wide open. I said on Tuesday night, like, who's the breakout player that nobody's talking about right now? It's KJ Hamler, 22 years old, dealing with a hamstring injury last year, 2nd year in the league. There's no other player on this roster that has near his skill set. So it's going to be hard for him to get targets because there's a lot of mouths to feed, but KJ Hamler's a really talented player, and I think people are forgetting about him. And obviously Noah Fant, Alberto Cuebanam. So I like the talent on both sides of the ball. That being said, it's going to be a little bit before we find out about the trenches and the quarterbacks.
And I was going to say, even on the defensive side of the ball, the defensive line, when we went through the interior line in a 3-4, it wasn't overwhelming. Of the 3 units, it was definitely the 3rd. But there were guys there that the good news on that is while it's not deep, those guys are replaceable too if an injury does hit. You're not counting on those guys to be the stars of your team.
Yep. Absolutely right. We got Marty MF Williams in the house saying Mile High Nation. We like Broncos country around here, but Marty, if you want to say Mile High Nation, then by all means, more power to you. We got Anthony in the house saying, go Broncos. This whole team is going to be good this year. And I have all the confidence in saying that. Well, Anthony, let's hope so, man. I am so tired of having to tune in on a mid-November game and the Broncos are already eliminated, right? Like that's just, I'm done with that. We haven't played meaningful football late in the season since 2016 when the Broncos lost to the Titans. Obviously making the playoffs is goal number one. Winning the Super Bowl is goal number one, but making the playoffs is the most achievable end goal for this season. Even if they don't do that, I need some meaningful football games late in the season because I cannot take another, game where the Raiders and the Broncos are playing for draft position. I just can't. Yeah,
and if you don't play fantasy football, you basically tune out of the NFL come October. if you get off to a bad start. Otherwise, I'm looking at the draft, like you said. I'm looking at guys coming out. Who's going to make my team better? What can I hope for? Hope's a big word when it comes to football. When you lose hope early, it's no fun.
Yep, that's true. We got Thomas Murray in the house over on Facebook. If you guys are joining us on Facebook today, click the thumbs up. My opinion is that they are handicapping Locke again. He should be getting all first-team reps since these competitions never help either quarterback. Well, there's got to be examples of quarterback competitions helping both guys, right? Like I can't think of any off the top of my head, but it feels like where we're at, given the information we have, it's really hard to say that definitively.
Well, I don't think they're going to go backwards. Like we've talked about before, just the motivation of knowing that your contract's coming up. Someone came in. You've got two ways to go with that. Either you sit and sulk. I'm rich anyway. I've already, relatively speaking, I'm not making $100 million, but Drew Lock is probably going to get paid in this rookie contract more than I'll make in my life. Ugh. So there's something to be said for that. But how does he respond to that? And I wanted to go back to we talked about him spending the day with Peyton Manning, and that was a story. What can come out of that? And it's like, we talked about, it's like, no, he's not going to become Peyton Manning overnight. But even if he picks up one thing, just one, that makes him a better quarterback, it was a day worth spent out of 365 days during the offseason. Reading through, Lance in his report was talking about how he was, for lack of a better word, he drew people off sides. I'm like, well, who is better at doing that than Peyton Manning? So even if you just sit down and you learn how to draw people off sides and get a crucial 5 yards when it matters from Peyton Manning, that was a day worth spent. So I while you'd like the guys to get sharper, having Teddy come in a competition, and it probably won't stay 50-50 for the entire camp. I don't think it will, but it's pushed Drew to become a better quarterback. And I think that's a good thing. He needed the competition.
I mean, he hasn't had real competition since his freshman year at Missouri, right? Like he was a 4-star recruit for a program that doesn't bring in, talent like that. Missouri's fine, right? They're mid-tier SEC. But you're talking about Drew Lock, freshman year. I mean, he was 4-star. After that, he was going to be a quarterback from then on. Was Joe Flacco competition? Not really. He was just holding the place, and obviously Joe Flacco was not it. So now Drew's going to have to go out there and earn it or fade into obscurity. And pulling for him because that would be the best case for the Broncos. Best case for us is Gary Leeds Palmer joining us on time. No, I was just kidding, Gary. Morning, Nick and Scott. Better late than never. Go Broncos. Good to see you, Gary. It's always awesome to see. I also see Gary drop the heart react on Facebook. So Gary's a real one. It's always good to see you, Gary. We appreciate you. EJ's in the house as well. Calvin Anderson struggled yesterday, but of course that was against Von Miller. Also see some people asking, anyone see the Calvin Anderson video? And somebody asked chances of Calvin Anderson making this roster this year. I know that Vic Fangio talked him up a little bit, but Calvin Anderson's going to have to show that he can play both sides of the line, so left and right tackle, and be better than the likes of Cameron Fleming and Bobby Massey. And if he can't, he'll be probably gone. So again, that's another guy to pull for. He seems fun, and he's also young and cheap, which helps. But you got to go out there and play. You can do a lot of flexing on Twitter, but I don't care so much about that. I care about the flexing on the field.
Well, and it works kind of both ways with the young and cheap. It is if you're good, but it also means you're expendable. Sometimes it's nice having that big dead cap number next to your name. It means they can't get rid of me now. So Broncos 17-0, our most optimistic Denver Broncos fan. Glad you could make it. Hope you were here last week when we said thank you several times for the always generous donations to the show. We certainly appreciate you. And we're glad you're here. 17-0 might be a bit much to ask for, but I think a playoff run is definitely in the cards.
Yeah. I would say so. You never know, right? That's everything's a possible reality until it proves otherwise. We also have Peter Middleton in the house. Peter, maybe I'm reading this one weird. Well in UDFA that's starting well in training camp. Who is the UDFA that's starting well in training camp?
Is there an undrafted free agent that's got off to a good start?
Well, I didn't hear anything yesterday from undrafted free agents, but I know that earlier in OTAs, Sean Byer was actually the one that was probably making the most noise. Maybe Andre Mintz as well as another one who has a chance given Jonathan Cooper's 7th round status and the heart surgery that he had. But I haven't heard anything yet. And that's one where, I want to see it with my own eyes before I really start to count somebody. And that means we need to have preseason game and all 22. God, did you see what the NFL's doing Game Pass? They said they're not going to have all 22 available for hopefully months.
No, I did not see that. I didn't.
Oh, man.
What I did see, though, was in the shop with Willie's comment coming in with the super. It says, if Drew can't beat out Teddy, trade him. I agree. If you can, I think Nick and I both said if he can't beat out Teddy, he's not going to be around for much longer. He'll be on he's got one more year on his contract, 2022. But if he can't beat out Teddy, he's not going to be around in 2023. Just plain and simple.
Yeah. I guess if Drew can't beat out Teddy, there is a reality where Teddy comes out there and he's just kind of milquetoast and you kind of need something else for the offense. And because maybe Drew being benched for a little bit and coming back out and being like, man, I actually have to maybe something would click. So I don't know if I would actually trade him if he loses outright to Teddy, especially with how the season can go.
No, and I think of it as if he can't beat him out, I think of that as a finality. Like, if he eventually beats him out, that's still beating him out, even if it doesn't happen right away. So when I think of him, you're not going to re-sign him as a contract to be a backup. I think Locke would still want a chance at a place somewhere else, and Denver would need to acquire another quarterback for 2023. So what we said about this quarterback position is if Teddy Bridgewater wins this quarterbacking job, Denver's going to have a new quarterback completely different in 2023. He might do it for this year. He might hold the position for 2022 as you draft a guy and let him sit for a year. But if Teddy Bridgewater wins this job this year, you've got a new quarterback in 2023.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Dave Glassman in the house. Who was the receiver that caught 2 touchdowns yesterday? Can't remember his name. Hadn't heard of him before yesterday. He was here last year as well. He maybe even the year before that, but Trinity Benson, undrafted free agent from a couple years ago. Had a good day yesterday. A long way to go. So just because he caught 2 touchdowns yesterday doesn't mean he's going to average 2 touchdowns per game. But another talented wide receiver on this Broncos depth chart. Maybe yesterday was his day. Maybe something will come of it. And Peter, thank you very much for the stars, Peter, keeping us on the toes, letting us know what's going on. We got Kayleon Green in the house saying yo to you, Kayleon. Hope you're doing well. And we also have there's a question here from. Somebody asked a question about dime package and the Broncos using dime package more going forward. What are your thoughts on that? I know that Vic Fangio
if the Broncos primarily play dime, who do you see as the main inside linebacker on the field, Johnson or Jewell? That's a question for you.
Yeah.
Which one of these guys is better in coverage? It has better lateral movement?
I think it's actually Josie Jewell, but he's quick. But he does not move does not actually gain ground very fast. If that makes sense.
And you don't necessarily have to have a typical inside linebacker play in the middle. You can put whoever you want to in that spot in dime package. Their primary job is going to either be covering a back or matching up with a tight end coming out.
Yeah, no, that's I think the biggest thing is it's whoever's going to be wearing the green dot. Right? Like last year, it was Alexander Johnson calling the plays and whatnot. Doesn't mean that'll be the case this season, but whoever is the one that they're most comfortable with bringing in the plays, that's the one. So, and I see it was CC, wasn't it Hinton yesterday, or Moron, excuse me. No, but I just checked Twitter. It was Trinity Benson who caught the 2 touchdowns yesterday. So, as much as we would have liked it to be Kendall Hinton, given how much we're pulling for him after having to play quarterback last year for the Broncos, it was Benson yesterday. So, there we go.
Be interesting to put Patrick Surtain in the middle of a dime.
Yeah, do you think he could hold up as an inside?
This is my wild card. But you're looking at a 4. If you're in a dime, you're looking at a 4 receiver set and a single running back. Say, and if one of those is a tight end or the running back, why not? That would definitely be interesting.
Well, they have a lot of good cornerbacks. We know that Patrick Surtain played well and succeeded as a star backer at Alabama his freshman year. So while that's not playing in between the tackles per se, he has played closer to the middle of the field, and the hash marks are wider in college as well. So, playing in between the hashes sometimes. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do there. I'm really excited to see what can happen with Surtain this year. I know that a lot of people are in their feelings about Broncos passing on a quarterback in the draft, but Surtain's going to be a good one. And hearing Justin Simmons talk about him, seeing what he looks like on the field too. I mean, I don't want to throw too much of a hype out there, but I'm getting some Charles Woodson vibes from him, which is crazy. I know. God bless. Calm down, Nick. I hate to be that overhyper, but he's good.
So actually, In the Shop with Willie came in again, and I was wondering what he meant, why he was mad at me again. It was because he had the same comment as I did. See, we think alike. I'm a decent person to like, I promise you. But no, I think that would be interesting. I mean, we're talking about a guy who's 6'2", who's going to play 210, 215. If you're looking for a guy in the middle of the field in coverage, he's going to be off the line of scrimmage. Who's coming to block him? You've got your line, but you got your defensive line and linemen and linebackers to hold up a pulling guard or a center that comes out and wouldn't lay a finger on him anyway. When I was playing the little bit I played of football, when I was playing safety, if I saw a lineman come at him, the ball was going this way, I looked this way and then would just juke him. There was no way I was taking that guy head on. So he never touched me anyway. So it would be interesting. And we've talked about how much I like Surtain since January. And part of it is because he's tough. He's fast, physical. He's good in coverage. What's not to like?
Smart, young, also, I think 20, 21 years old. A lot of upside there. Versatile also. I mean, if Surtain doesn't work as a boundary corner because he doesn't have the twitch, he's going to end up being a Minka Fitzpatrick-like safety. Really, that's worst case scenario for him. So I'm excited to see what he can do here, and having multiple blue chip building block players in that secondary now with Justin Simmons, Patrick Surtain, maybe Kyle Fuller, maybe Ronald Darby, but you're really starting to build something there that actually has a chance to be sustainable year to year. Now, are they going to be the best defense every year? No, but with the building blocks they have in the back seven now, in the defensive backs, as long as they have not just absolutely pathetic pass rush, they should be okay on that in that department year to year, which is pretty hard to say. C. Finnan coming in here saying, can't wait for the season to start. A newbie NFL fan here and fell in love with the Broncos, learning the game every day. Well, welcome, C. Good to see you. Good to have you along. If you have any football questions for us, hit us up on Twitter also, or we can answer them on here. But it's good to have you. I'd be curious to hear from you. What about the Broncos drew you? Because I got to say, right now, when the options are, Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert and Dak Prescott, et cetera, out there, Josh Allen, new Broncos fans out there, that's a team that, especially with how bad the offense has been, I can't imagine getting many new young fans, right? They're not lighting up the scoreboard in Madden. They haven't been fun since 2015. So what brought you here? We're happy to have you, but I'm just curious, what made it tick?
Yeah, but the NFL's a rite of passage.
Yeah, true.
You grow up, you root for your hometown team.
Unless you're from Iowa and there's no hometown.
And with Denver, you don't have to worry about the blackout rules. That's what was strange growing up in Atlanta, is you only got to watch your team when they were on the road in the 80s. So you were always watching other teams. Usually it was the Dolphins on NBC, the Raiders on NBC, one of those in the early and late game, and the Cowboys were always national games. So lots of those fans around. So, being an NFL fan of your home team, you just grow up that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I am Purple Drank. Joining us this morning. He says, morning, Broncos country.
Yeah, you are.
Good morning to you. I am Purple Drank. Another day closer to Broncos football. let's go. Broncos football's here. What do you mean closer? It's here. It's maybe it's not, games, but it's new stuff that we can analyze and pick apart and, not go down the same old narratives, right? It's a good time. Here we go. In the Shop with Willie from Missouri. Hate my hometown team. Well, I got nothing for you. Are you a St. Louis Cardinals fan there, Willie? You got to let me know on that front. But I got to be honest with you, Scott. I have a hard time truly hating the Chiefs because I have a lot of family that I love that are big Kansas City fans, go to a lot of games, and going to Arrowhead, the barbecue, the tailgating, it's fun. It's not Mile High, not close, but I don't hate Kansas City. I hate
sometimes
the Raiders.
Familiarity breeds contempt.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
with that too. I was always the contrarian. We were more college down here if there was a choice. So I did not like the Georgia Bulldogs because everybody was a friggin' Georgia Bulldog fan. I rooted for Georgia Tech. So some of that I didn't want to go to Georgia because everybody that I went to high school with and middle school with went to Georgia. I went to Auburn. So sometimes a little bit of that familiarity can breed contempt, especially if the team is struggling a little bit. You want to love them and they just treat you like crap, so you hate them for it.
Yeah, gosh. Mo Round saying he's got to get to work. Thanks for the show. Have a good one. You too, Mo. And here you go, Willie. Here's some commonality here with Scott. Braves. There's your team. So there you go. It's common ground. Dom coming in here. What's up, Nick and Scott? Who do you think will win the running back one spot? I think it's going to be Melvin Gordon. It's going to be Melvin Gordon's until he fumbles it. And that's literally and figuratively.
I think there's going to be a 55-45 split when the season's over. I think you're going to see a lot of both of them. I think it's going to be not necessarily co-number ones, but I think you're going to see a healthy split of carries between the two of them. Yep,
absolutely. That's it's going to be close, and honestly, it's going to be hot hand / health. Right, you got two guys. It's a long season. If somebody's dinged and at 85% of their normal ability, you ride the healthier guy and nurse that other guy back to health.
And we talked a lot about the styles of running, where Melvin Gordon will pick his spots, runs a little more patient, and Javonte Williams hits a hole like a sledgehammer. Mm-hmm. That will pay dividends in the fourth quarter as teams start to tire out. So you might see number one based on time of game. If Melvin Gordon starts, you bring in your closer. Javonte Williams ends up the closer. So, but I do think you're going to see a split between the two of them. Yep,
absolutely. We got Roy. Excuse me, guys. We got Roy in the house over on Facebook. Good to see you this morning, Roy. Hope you're doing well. He asks, where do we think we need to build on the offense? Well, right now the Broncos aren't sure at quarterback, so quarterback's got to be the number one answer. It's going to be until it's not. I mean, it's a really simple. You've seen those like meme flow charts. It's like, for me, it'd be like, does your team have a franchise quarterback? No. Is there one available? Yes. Take it. It's that simple. Like, you need to keep swinging until you have one. And this is kind of a weird dichotomy that I've kind of come to a realization with the further I've come. I'm more okay with the process of taking Paxton Lynch today than I was at the time, because I did not like Paxton Lynch. I wanted Chris Jones, full disclosure, and that would have been a much better pick. But you have to, it's just a probability thing. You have to take swings at the quarterback. If you're afraid to take that shot, you're never going to find that guy unless you just stumble into it. But, that's like, you're not going to luck your way into millions of dollars, right? Or you're not going to be that guy. So I even though Paxton Lynch busted, the process of actually taking a swing on a quarterback, and they need to work out mentally, right? Like the interview process there, I don't know what the hell happened there. Like, they should have been able to tell, like, this guy's a doofus playing Madden more than working. What are you doing? But actually just taking swings at the quarterback position, kind of like what the Patriots just did with Mac Jones. Like, maybe Mac Jones doesn't work out. It's a 15th overall pick, but you're not going anywhere unless you have a quarterback. So, like, you have to be able to take that swings. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Quote Wayne Gretzky, quote Michael Scott, quote Nick Kendell. So that's where I'm at on that. But other than quarterback,
three of the greats right there, right?
Three,
put yourself in there with the greatest of all time. CC came in just a moment ago and said, other than quarterback, and I agree with him. Said probably right tackle.
That's right. Tackle.
Where else you've already tried to improve the center position or interior line with Quinn Miners. Left tackle's good. Receivers are good. Tight ends are good. All good depth. You got two running backs. What's a fullback? I don't think those even exist anymore. So what's the only question right now? Right tackle.
Yep. I guess if we're going to get really deep into the weeds, tight end 2 is one where you have no idea about right now because it's purely projection with Alberto Cuebanam. He has a lot of tools, but he has a long way to go as well. So you're hopeful for him to take big steps forward as a blocker, as a route runner, but tight end 2 is still.
Benjamin's available.
Oh my gosh. They need more of a Nick Boyle type. That's really an attachment to the offensive line, especially if they want to run the ball as much as they look like they're going to. But he's one that backup tight end, and Peter said that is also the tight end backup position. The Y tight end is one that I'm looking for also this year. But right tackle.
You're in a pretty good spot when that's what you're talking about. Boy,
yep.
We could really use a second tight end. Come on, man. But other than the quarterback, I mean, there's one glaring problem. There's one glaring area that needs to be fixed, which affects the rest of the team. So once you get past that, everything else is pretty good. And that's why we've been talking with such optimism about this team going into the 2021 season.
I do agree with you, though.
I should have been a server, a waiter. I can wait until you take the biggest slug before I finish my points. We can all sit back and watch Nick take a big gulp of coffee.
Oh man! Last Tuesday when you did that to me, I all out of my mouth. I do agree with you though. The right tackle position, everything they have there at best is a stopgap. So maybe an investment there. I'm a big believer. I think the right tackle position, despite what Orlando Brown said this offseason, where he's like, I'm a left tackle only. I think the right tackle position is as important as the left tackle because a lot of teams are playing their best pass rusher over that right tackle these days. I mean, Khalil Mack plays over that. Chase Young plays over that. Von Miller plays over that. Joey Bosa.
Orlando Brown, like junior or third, right? It wasn't Orlando
Junior.
Brown the one who sees his career basically got ended when he got hit with a beanbag in the eye because he had a pre-existing condition. That was the craziest thing ever.
Yep, played for the Browns.
He got fined for that, but I mean, he got hit in the eye with it, and he went over and shoved the official. But that was understandable. The dude just ended his career.
Yep.
Nope, I mean, you can't touch the official on that, but he responded, I think, with some restraint considering the ramifications of that. Anyway.
Yep. But also another reason that I think the right tackle, left tackle is, it's essentially the same in value as how much shotgun there is today. Is there truly a blindside when the quarterback's not playing under center as much, when he has the field in front of him, he has a wider field of view? I don't know. It's more important to have two good ones there than to have blindside versus right tackle. So we'll see. Gary coming in. People still debating the draft. Come on, guys. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. Let's do training camp. So much talent. Well, Peter, I got bad news for you. The quarterback position is going to continue to be a debate until the Broncos are settled there. It's just the reality. And I owe Mo a deep evaluation on Spencer Rattler. I think it was Mo that said, I said I was going to watch a game and I didn't. So we'll get that done before we get back here on Tuesday. What I did ask about him is a friend of mine follows Oklahoma passionately. And I was like, what have you heard about Spencer Rattler, being kind of an ass? And he's like, there's not been a ton about that. And he was even asked about that. Why there was some speculation that's not why he wasn't at Big 12 media days. But the coach flat out said, he says, we always take our most senior players. We left Baker Mayfield at home 1 year. So that's nothing new. But so we'll see. Yep. We will see. I mean, he's really talented. He's a lot of fun. The arm talent is obvious. He's probably, I think right now Vegas has him as the odds-on favorite to go number 1 overall as well. I think quarterbacks, as in the shop with Willie says, Rattler is overrated as an OU fan. I think quarterbacks are always overrated in the draft, period. But especially in July before their season starts. I've seen some guys that get touted as top 10 guys. I'm like, I wouldn't draft that guy at all. And typically it works its way out that way. Not always, but typically. Who's the one that said Bo Nix, number 1 overall? Are you kidding me? Jordan Palmer. So we'll see. Hope so. Yep, absolutely. Here we go, Clayton. Who is one of your favorite players in the Broncos right now? I'll stand on the table. This is a guy that I followed since his recruiting days even, and that's Noah Fant. Big fan of Noah Fant. Obviously came to Iowa early on his sophomore year. I went and saw him just absolutely destroy Wyoming. I had tickets to that game because I wanted to see the Josh Allen come to play the University of Iowa because I was pretty big on Josh Allen entering his senior season. So I got to go see him live. He's coming to Iowa. But Noah Fant, huge fan of Noah Fant. Met him, talked to him a few times, very well spoken. I mean, there's a reason the Broncos keep putting him out in front of those media sessions because he is such an intelligent, well-rounded person. He's growing into his body still. All the talent in the world. I am super excited of Noah Fant, and I kind of have a rule where I don't typically get jerseys of players unless they are like on a Hall of Fame All-Pro trajectory and they have just signed a second contract kind of thing. Once Noah Fant signs that second contract, which could be soon. I mean, if he plays that well this season, it could be soon. Then he's one that I actually might break that rule and get his jersey because love Noah Fant, the Iowa roots also, but he's a hell of a player. Also, tight end's my favorite position.
Well, I think for me, it's pretty easy. Who's the only national name on the Broncos?
Is it Justin Simmons? I don't even.
Nobody knows who Justin Simmons is.
Oh man, that hurts.
Sorry, but they don't. It's Von Miller, right? Von Miller is doing national spots, TV spots. Plays that I love the outside linebacker position.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with Von Miller on this one. But using the phrase that I root for me on these, I'm hoping that Patrick Surtain is just an absolute star, and that Seth Williams comes out and plays very, very well for the Broncos after I've gassed those guys up a little bit.
Yep. And we got Robert saying 80 plus watching, only 30 likes. Smash that like button. Thank you very much, Robert. We appreciate that. And this is another reason I love the tight end position. I think 12 personnel is amazing because if you can make teams take defensive backs off the field and play linebackers, good luck, buddy, especially if your tight ends can put them in a tough situation. But he says, again, good to see you, West. I don't recognize you. I'm from around here. West City Slick, I'm going to say. We should run double tight end with Fant and Albert on each side. That is just deadly. Albert's going to have to prove that he can hang as a blocker more than he did at Missouri in his limited snaps last year. Although I will say there were some snaps last year that were pretty good from him as a blocker. He's 6'5", 265. Like he should be able to block. But I would love two tight ends. It's just the thing about the two tight end sets is you're taking off a pretty talented wide receiver in that scenario.
Yeah, and that's the thing we start talking about with this is we talk about the depth of the wide receiver position. Do you really want to put your second tight end in for one of your third wide receiver? Probably not. Not if you in certain cases you want to, but is your second tight end better than your third best wide receiver in a passing situation? I don't think so. Not on this team. Not yet.
No, not right now. Maybe a year from now, if the Broncos lose Tim Patrick and KJ Hamler is still struggling, you could run Albert Okwuegbunam, Noah Fant, Cortland Sutton, assuming he's resigned, and Jerry Jeudy. But I don't know. Hell, honestly, take the running back off the field. Let's play two personnel, right? Just running backs don't matter. Let's really buy into that. Two tight ends, three wide receivers. Have your quarterback be the de facto running back. That's what I did when I played NCAA football all the time, right? I'd get one of those scrambling quarterbacks and run four verts over and over again, and for 500 yards passing, 200 yards rushing. It was beautiful. Let's get into it.
One of the last times I played with Auburn, and Auburn was loaded at running back. Brandon Jacobs, Carnell Williams, and Ronnie Brown. That's two top 5 picks and a guy who was better than those two in the NFL, but they didn't have a quarterback. I ran the wishbone.
Yeah.
I grabbed a wide receiver and put him in one of the slots, put Brandon Jacobs, I put Carnell at quarterback, Cadillac Williams, and then I'd run the wishbone. I like the ground and pound.
The option offenses on those early NCAA football games were very fun as well. You could run some real good offenses on those games with the options. So we got a comment coming in here from Broncos 17-0. There's a little bit of a wink here, I think, saying, I'm going to be following the Bears this year. Just saying. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Back to the draft conversation. That's a Justin Fields comment. I would bet when we say, is it too, why are we still talking about the draft? I think that was his way of saying we're always following the draft. We're always looking back and saying woulda, shoulda, coulda. Yep. And paying attention to see what Justin Fields does. I'll be watching him for sure. Like I said, like I just mentioned, if I talk a guy up, I want him to succeed. I don't care where he goes. I talked up Justin Fields a lot. Nick and I have both said probably would have taken him number 2 with the New York Jets. I want him to succeed.
Yeah, and absolutely. Jeremy coming in here. If you like Justin Fields going to the draft, are you rooting for him to be bad now? Interesting psychology question.
Nope. I root for me. I want to be right.
Yeah, I don't root against these guys unless they give me
the Saints.
Yeah. If he'd have been a Raider or a Patriot, I probably would be cheering against him. But it's unless Justin Fields gives me a reason to cheer against him as like the person, I'm not going to be cheering against almost any of these guys. Caveat, unless they're a Raider or a Patriot. But that's
he's
about
a hometown guy for me too. I root for almost all the Georgia kids, no matter where they go.
Yep. Absolutely. In the shop with Willie coming in again. Thank you so much. Saying I'd be re-signing Sutton today. George Payton did have a comment on that topic where he said that we need to get these guys through camp first to make sure everyone's healthy and good to go before we're approaching them. And that includes Bradley Chubb as well. But it will be really interesting to see. I'm really hoping Sutton will get paid. And based on George Payton's comments in the past, Sutton's very high on their list. I think George Payton and this team believe Courtland Sutton has a chance to be one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. He does everything right. He's honestly almost as quarterback independent as a wide receiver can be given his skill set. So I definitely think they're going to re-sign him today. Maybe not, but he's one who deserves to get paid, and he will get paid. And Willie's right. Sutton will never be cheaper than today. But for that same reason, why wouldn't Sutton wait to sign as well, right? Like he's betting on himself.
It's a risk for both sides. You know, if he doesn't come back the way you want him to, and you re-sign him now to a bigger contract, now you're strapped with that contract for a while. So it's a risk either way. I'd get a look at him in camp and say, yeah, we still want to be the guy, and get him some guaranteed money. And he should be happy to take a little bit of a discount considering he's coming off of injury. So that's a good shout.
Tim Durr, who is this year's quarterback bust? Tim, you're going to have to let us know if you mean the 2021 class,
so
2022.
Lawrence.
Okay, this last one.
Fields, Lance, Jones, Wilson. I think it's a toss-up right now between Trey Lance. Trey Lance, with what they gave up to get him, holy cow, he better be phenomenal within quickly. That was 3 first-round picks to move up to take the third quarterback in the draft. That's a lot of pressure on him. And does anybody succeed with the Jets? Anybody?
I'm going to go with Wilson. He kind of has
He's the only unsigned first-round pick right now.
That's one of the things. New York media eating him up as well. That's a place where a lot of players' careers go to die. And also he already has distractions. I don't know if you've been following, but his mom and him have been having weird little Instagram spats where his mom had like the weirdest YouTubes or Instagram story where she's like, people have been reaching out to me and their only reason to live is my Instagram account. And he's offered his mom a lot of money to shut her Instagram down.
Just shut up. Yeah. And Jeremy says here, I say Wilson based on Schulle is a Jet. I mean, seriously, Sam Darnold they overpaid for him anyway. He should have been a second or third rounder to begin with, but then you're going to the Jets. You never really had a chance. So maybe they'll be the ones that turn it around. And, I say something like this and, Murphy's Law, they're going to be a playoff team. But if I had to bet on anybody right now, I'd go with Zach Wilson.
Yep. Same here. And the thing about Trey Lance busting, because of his running ability, I think it's pretty hard for him to outright bust. Like he's too natural of a passer to like Tavares Jackson himself out of the league, kind of like, oh, he's an athlete, but there's no real passing ability there. And also you have Kyle Shanahan, who with the under center offense, he's going to be set up to succeed, right? They have weapons. They have a good offensive line. They're always going to have a strong run game. Now that the quarterback's an option off that run game, I'm really excited to see what Trey Lance can do there. You're talking about bust. He has a chance to be the best quarterback in this class too, because of the situation.
What have I said 100 times? The quarterback's position where the coach is as important, if not more important, than the player. Yep. So, what have you mentioned about Trey Lance? So what I keep hearing on there was system, coach. He's going to be put in a position to succeed. Whereas Wilson, who knows? Justin Fields, I think, is in a good situation where he came down a little bit, but still went to a better team. And that's part of it also. Can Trevor Lawrence stay upright in Jacksonville? Can they protect him a lot? Being a number 1 overall pick, not everybody ends up Troy Aikman where they go 1-15 and go on to a Hall of Fame career. A lot of them get their brains beat in and disappear by the time their rookie contract's over. So while it's nice to be the number 1 overall guy, that usually means you're going to a pretty crap team and there's a lot stacked against you.
I did see that there was some graphic where I think it was 1 possession games last year, or like ones where it's like came down to the very end and ended up losing. And those tend to be average year after year. And the Jacksonville Jaguars like on the far left of the bell curve. So you should expect some regression to the mean. Unless
you're an Atlanta sports fan, then you just expect to lose those at the end. So I think Atlanta had 3 statistically impossible losses last year to start their 1-7 season.
That AJ Terrell interception drop in the end zone versus the Chiefs still haunts me. That one upset me greatly, Scott. I was
that
really
was at the end, and then the beginning of the year, Todd Gurley, if he goes down instead of scores, they win. He scores a touchdown and loses. It's just crazy stuff.
It's one of those things, though. I try to twist it in my mind to rationalize it, but you got the 4th overall pick. Maybe you should have taken a quarterback being that high, but you ended up with Kyle Pitts, and maybe he's going to be a generational talent. And if it wasn't for this bad season, it never would have happened. I mean, I do that all the time with the Josh McDaniels era. Did it suck? Well, yes, but go ahead.
You'd be willing to have one of that if you got the guy that could lead you, and maybe that's the guy. I mean, remember the Spurs have San Antonio Spurs tank one season with David Robinson, and who they get? They get the number 1 overall pick and pair Tim Duncan with him, and go on and create a dynasty.
Yep.
This is This is an Atlanta team. There's been one championship. That was Atlanta United, and by God, they're paying for fooling the gods on that. They're paying for it desperately. Every single position on that roster has gotten worse. So unfortunately we're used to it. There's the obvious one in the Super Bowl, but in the '96 World Series, you're up 6-0 in Game 4, and below that one, 3-1 on the Dodgers last year is it's just part of the DNA here, unfortunately.
Well, I again, trying to rationalize things that happen and trying to, toxic positivity. But Josh McDaniels, right, that terrible era, Spygate with the Broncos filming another team. I think it was the 49ers over in Europe. The Broncos suck with him. But because they sucked with him, they get the 2nd overall pick. They get Von Miller, who's on his way to the Hall of Fame here. And honestly, because of Von Miller here, there's a cascade of effect of other players, good defense, and Peyton Manning ends up coming here. And there's probably, honest to God, if you don't have those bad years with Josh McDaniels, I'm not sure that things proceed as such where you end up with Peyton Manning and get that run. So,
and part of that's having a good franchise. Part of that's having a good franchise, ownership, and all that stuff around you. Which the Atlanta teams haven't always had. I think Arthur Blank is a good owner, and this is still the Arthur Blank ownership's been a golden era of Atlanta Falcons football, where the Denver Broncos have reached that, no pun intended, but reached that summit several times. The Denver Broncos are a good franchise, and that's so that the sustain, if you have a dip, it shouldn't last, and you should come out of it stronger, which is frankly what the NFL tries to set you up for, is reward you for losing.
Unless you're the Packers, who have a Hall of Fame quarterback for going on 30 years now. Which only 2 Super Bowls
at least. I'm like, did Bart Starr, hand it right off to Brett Favre?
They had a few years of inadequacy.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
but they've only had 3 quarterbacks in their history.
Yeah, man. Well, it does sound like the Aaron Rodgers situation there is going to come to a close after this year, so we'll see. Probably last one here before we get on out of here. Not so bold prediction. We win 4 of the first 6 games and finish 10-7, 9-8. And I see Nick eat crow all year. Well, first off, I'd be happy to eat crow. It's my favorite meal, especially as long as it's deep fried, though, right? It's got to be crispy. There's so many crows here in Seattle. It's crazy. They're way too smart, too. But I will also add that finishing 10-7 and 9-8 does not mean the quarterback was great. I am old enough to remember the 13-3 Bears with Mitchell Trubisky, and the I think it was also 13-3 Jaguars with Blake Bortles, right? Like, having a great quarterback is probably the easiest way to have a good team, but you can win games even if your quarterback is less than stellar. So,
or we'll lose them. Go ask Houston Deshaun Watson. Pro Bowler at quarterback, had an amazing year, almost 5,000 yards, 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 4-12, I think.
Yep.
And I think in the shop with Willie, we did a show early predicting the schedule, and I think we both predicted better than 10-7.
I had him at 9-8,
but I had him with a slow start. Mm-hmm. A lot of those road games, a lot of AFC North games, the Ravens and Steelers still always scare me. The Browns on those type of games on the road. I had him with a slower start, like almost starting like 2-4, but then going on a run. And I think I had 11-6 at the end. Counting on the QB play to elevate 2 teams out of the 30s, which would be a big improvement.
Yep. But we'll see. I mean, it's just so hard to predict the schedule. And it's the reason why Vegas is hard to put a line out there. I think they're at 8.5 for the Broncos because they don't know about the quarterback. So we'll see. Peter Middleton, 10-7, just sneaking in the playoffs. Very possible.
Well, we just need to keep expanding the playoffs until everybody's in it.
There we go.
Skip the regular season.
There we go. Well, can't expand this show anymore, guys. We got to get on out of here. That's going to do it for Broncos for Breakfast. We will see you guys again next Tuesday at 7:30 Mountain Time. Make sure you're following Scott and I on Twitter, Scott at Scout Kennedy, and myself at Nick Kendell MHH for all your football content. While you're over on Twitter, also follow us at Huddle Up Pod and at Mile High Huddle. If you guys are joining us on Facebook today, first off, thank you everybody who's dropped the heart and the like react. I see Kevin Lynn, Zebulon Omega in the house, Aaron Paulson, William Goldsmith, Riley Mallory is in the house, Jeremiah Rosebaum, George Boston Monty. We got some loves coming in too, some hearts. James Blakely, Gary Leeds Palmer, Greg Smith, Steven Tobacco, Dom Hamilio, Kareem Gomez, Dave Glassman. So thank you guys. If you haven't dropped a heart react, laugh react, care react, whatever, please do so. Join us at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle, as well as facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. Guys over on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, like, and share. And also, while you guys are joining us on YouTube, go over to Scott's channel as well, youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy. Dropping the subscription there. Also, you guys can just click that. It'll take you right to his channel. That'll be great if you guys would do that. Also want to give a shout out to everybody who joined us today. Hopefully we get everybody here because there's a lot of you guys contributing and we really appreciate that. Robert Rybel coming in many times. Thank you very much, Robert. Stu McPeak was in the house today. Mo Ron was in the house. In the Shop with Willie, dropping many little nuggets here and there. Thank you very much. Gary Leeds Palmer, I believe, in the Superstars. Peter Middleton with the Superstars. Broncos 17-0. Also, so everybody who joined us today, dropping those super stickers, superstars, everything. We love y'all. Some more comments here before we get on out of here. Jeremy saying, great show, boys. See you on Tuesday. Michael in the house here. Great show, Nick and Scott from Broncos for Breakfast. Go Broncos. Tim Durr saying, have a great day, guys. US Dave, now back to bed. I've had too much coffee to do that. I need to get the dog for a walk to sweat out the coffee. Robert says he has one last super chat. Well, if it's coming, we'll do it. And Willie, we're going to figure out something for that money. I got to get you your $5. I'm a man of my word. We're just gonna have to figure out the means. Maybe I'll have to have my significant other. She has a PayPal account. Get that over to you. I have the Venmo. She has PayPal. US Dave saying most enjoyable MHH pod. Man, that's really nice of you, US Dave. Sorry, it's at 6:30 your time, but I'm up here bringing the energy at 6:30, so I don't have that much sympathy. But he says thanks and go Broncos. And he said Robert's one last super chat was already posted. I'm scrolling up, Robert, and I do not see anything beyond Peter Middleton's last one here. Oh, here we go. $5 from Robert. Awesome show. This is a great way to end it. Thank you very much, Robert. Awesome show, guys. Perfect way to start my Thursday. Take care, Broncos country. Take care, Broncos country. Love y'all. Stay safe, and we will see you guys next Tuesday. Go Broncos.